Hi everyone, it's Darlene. Welcome back for another card video. Today I have another monochromatic card. I'm using the Mondo Sakura set by Ellen Hudson. I'm also using one of the new colored cardstocks by Stampin' Up! Called Flirty Flamingo, and I found that the zig marker called Light Carmine matches pretty well with it. It's just a little shade darker. I'm going to position my stamp so it's hanging off the upper left-hand corner. I'm going to ink it up with some Versamark ink, and then I'm going to sprinkle it with some white embossing powder and heat it to set it. I'm going to zoom in here so you can see how I'm coloring this. It's actually really quite simple. I'm coloring it similar to how I use my Copic markers, which is starting at the base and flicking upward. And if you use a light hand, you get kind of a feathery look similar to what you get with a Copic marker. So I'm going to start from the bottom up, and then I'm going to start from the edge of the petal, and I'm going to move inward. And you can see I'm going to make sure that my entire edge is colored in and I don't leave any gaps on the very edge of the petal. I'm just going to repeat this process all the way around all of these petals. Flicking from the bottom, flicking from the top. You can see I'm meeting in the middle, and this one was kind of large, so I had to go back into the middle and add a few more strokes because I want it to definitely be mostly covered with this zig marker. I spent about 6 total minutes coloring this in real time, but I have fast forwarded it to be less than a minute. When I first started coloring these flowers, I felt like I was really gripping my marker. I guess it's a little tense coloring. You don't want to go outside the lines. But as I moved along, I found that if I loosened my grip a little bit, then my lines became thinner. So I would recommend doing that. Also notice that I'm coloring the stems and the leaves also with this light carmine color. I'm also ignoring those stamen tips for now, so I'm just coloring right over them with the light carmine, and I'm going to cover them later with a black marker. I've done this look before with a Versamarker to get kind of that darker shade inside the petals, but I think using a marker that's just a slightly darker color looks much more striking. So here is my black zig marker. I love this marker, and if you don't have it, you can buy this outside of the set just as an individual marker. It's just so useful because the tip is incredibly fine, so you can get into really small areas. Now, because my marker was resisted by the embossing, I want to make sure that I cover this with a tissue and press down so I can absorb any of the marker, because it's watercolor, any of the marker that's on the embossed areas, because if I touch that, it'll smudge my cardstock. I'm using all the different pieces to this sentiment that comes with the set, so I'm just arranging them to figure out where I need to start the sentiment, which is going to be the U. So I'll put it in my MISTI, and then I'm going to carefully hold the U while I remove the rest of these words. And that way I kind of know where my first one is, and I'll put the rest in using a Stamp-A-Magic, and I'll show you that in a second. All right, so I'm going to use some VersaFine Black Onyx ink. I only had to stamp this once. And then I realized I forgot to trim my cardstock, so I took 1/8 of an inch off on each side, but it was still okay. I was able to fit my sentiment. Now notice I'm using my Stamp-A-Magic, and that's because even though you can see through your clear stamps, it's kind of hard to see exactly where the image is, and I wanted this to be exact. So I'm positioning all of them using the Stamp-A-Magic, and I'm going to prep my sheet every single time and just make sure that it goes exactly where I want it. And if you hold your block at the very top and then you push down and then straight back up, you'll get the perfect impression. Lastly, I'll put some ATG tape runner on the back and adhere it to a Nina Solar white card base. It's such a simple card. I think it took me a total of 15 minutes in real time to create, and it really does look beautiful. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.